hen will come in the window. But I will tell you what to do. Turn the fork and sweep with the handle, and the dung will instantly fly out of itself." "I will obey," said Yvon, upon which he sat down by the young girl and began to talk to her. She was the daughter of a fairy, whom the wretched giant had made his slave. Friendship soon springs up between companions in misfortune. Before the end of the day, Finette, for that was the lady's name, and Yvon had already promised to belong to each other if they could escape from their abominable master. The difficulty was to find the means. Time passes quickly in this kind of talk. Evening was approaching when Finette sent away her new friend, advising him to sweep the stable before the giant came home. Yvon took down the fork and attempted to use it, as he had seen it done at his father's castle. He soon had enough of it. In less than a second there was so much dung in the stable that the poor boy knew not which way to turn. He did as Finette had bid him, and he turned the fork and swept with the handle, when behold, in the twinkling of an eye, the stable was as clean as if no cattle had ever entered it. The task finished, Yvon seated himself on a bench before the door of the house. As soon as he saw the giant coming, he lolled back in his seat, crossed his legs, and began to sing one of his native airs. "Have you cleaned the stable?" asked the giant with a frown. "Everything is ready, master," answered Yvon, without troubling himself to move. "I'm going to see for myself," howled the giant. He entered the stable grumbling, found everything in order, and came out furious. "You have seen my Finette," cried he. "This trick did not come from your own head." "What is my Finette?" asked Yvon, opening his mouth and shutting his eyes. "Is it one of the animals that you have in this country? Show it to me, master." "Hold your tongue, fool," replied the giant. "You will see her sooner than you will want to." The next morning the giant gathered his sheep together to lead them to the pasture, but before setting out he ordered Yvon to go in the course of the day in search of his horse, which was turned out to graze on the mountain. "After that," said he, bursting into a laugh, "you can rest all day long. You see that I am a good master. Do your task, and above all things don't prowl about the house, or I will cut off your head." Yvon winked his eye as the giant left. "Yes, you are a good master," said he between his teeth. "I understand your fine tricks, but in spite of your threats, I shall go into the house and talk with your Finette. It remains to be seen whether she will not be mine or yours." He ran to the young girl's room. "Hurrah!" cried he. "I have nothing to do all day but to go to the mountain after a horse." "Very well," said Finette. "How will you set work to ride him?" "A fine question," returned Yvon. "As if it were a difficult thing to ride a horse. I fancy that I have ridden worse ones than this." "It is not so easy as you think," replied Finette. "But I will tell you what to do. Take the bit that hangs behind the stable door, and when the animal rushes toward you, breathing fire and smoke from his nostrils, force it straight between his teeth. He will instantly become as gentle as a lamb, and you can do what you please with him." "I will obey," said Yvon, upon which he sat down by the side of Finette and began to talk with her. They talked of everything, but however far their fancy strayed, they always came back to the point, that they were promised to each other, and that they must escape from the giant. Time passes quickly in this kind of talk. The evening drew nigh. Yvon had forgotten the horse and the mountain, and Finette was obliged to send him away, advising him to bring back the animal before his master's arrival. Yvon took down the bit that was hidden behind the stable door, and hastened to the mountain, when lo! a horse almost as large as an elephant rushed toward him at full gallop, breathing fire and smoke from his nostrils. Yvon firmly awaited the huge animal, and, the moment he opened his enormous jaws, thrust between the bit, and lo! the horse instantly became as gentle as a lamb. Yvon made him kneel down, sprang on his back, and tranquilly returned home. His task finished, Yvon seated himself on the bench before the door of the house. As soon as he saw the giant coming, he lolled back in his seat, crossed his legs, and began to sing one of his native airs. "Have you brought back the horse?" asked the giant with a frown. "Yes, master," answered Yvon, without taking the trouble to move. "He is a fine animal and does you credit. He is gentle, well trained, and as quiet as a lamb. He is feeding yonder in the stable." "I'm going to see for myself," howled the giant. He entered the stable, grumbling, found everything in order, and came out furious. "You have seen my Finette," said he. "This trick does not come from your own head." "Oh, master," returned Yvon, opening his mouth and shutting his eyes, "it is the same story over again. What is my Finette? Once for all, show me this monster." "Hold your tongue, fool," returned the giant. "You will see her sooner than you will want to." The third day at dawn, the giant gathered his sheep together to lead them to the pasture, but before setting out, he said to Yvon, "Today you must go to the bottomless pit to collect my rent. And after that," continued he, bursting into a laugh, "you may rest all day long. You see that I am a good master." "A good master, so be it," murmured Yvon, "but the task is none the less hard. I will go and see my Finette, as the giant says. I have great need of her help to get through today's business." When Finette had learned what was the task of the day, "Well," said she, "how will you go to work to do it?" "I don't know," said Yvon sadly. "I have never been to the bottomless pit, and even if I knew the way there, I should not know what to ask for. Tell me what to do." "Do you see that great rock yonder?" said Finette. "That is one of the gates of the bottomless pit. Take this stick, knock 3 times on that stone, and a demon will come out, all streaming with flames, who will ask you how much you want. Take care to answer, 'No more than I can carry.'" "I will obey," said Yvon, upon which he took a seat by the side of Finette and began to talk with her. He would have been there till this time if the young girl had not sent him to the great rock, when the evening drew nigh, to execute the giant's commands. On reaching the spot pointed out to him, Yvon found a great block of granite. He struck it 3 times with the stick, when lo, the rock opened, and a demon came forth, all streaming with flames. "What do you want?" he cried. "I have come from the giant's rent," answered Yvon calmly. "How much do you want?" "I never want any more than I can carry," replied the Breton. "It is well for you that you do not," answered the man in flames. "Enter this cavern, and you will find what you want." Yvon entered and opened his eyes wide. Everywhere he saw nothing but gold, silver, diamonds, carbuncles, and emeralds. They were as numerous as the sands on the seashore. The young curver filled his sack, threw it across his shoulder, and tranquilly returned home. His task finished, our Breton seated himself on the bench before the door of the house. As soon as he saw the giant coming, he lolled back in his seat, crossed his legs, and began to sing one of his native airs. "Have you been to the bottomless pit to collect my rent?" asked the giant, with a frown. "Yes, master," answered Yvon, without taking the trouble to stir. "The sack is there right before your eyes. You can count it." "I am going to see for myself," howled the giant. He untied the strings of the sack, which was so full that the gold and silver rolled in all directions. "You have seen my Finette," he cried. "This trick does not come from your own head." "Don't you know but one song?" said Yvon, opening his mouth and shutting his eyes. "It is the old story, my Finette, my Finette. Once for all, show me this thing." "Well, well," roared the giant with fury. "Wait till tomorrow, and you shall make her acquaintance." "Thank you, master," said Yvon. "It is very good of you, but I see from your face that you are laughing at me." Chapter 3